will never heal until you face this about your mother. Not the image of her you've held in your mind, not the idealized version you've clung to, but the raw, unfiltered truth of who she was. The truth that may be painful, uncomfortable, and even shattering, but it is only by confronting this truth that healing can begin. Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, once said, "Every mother contains her daughter in herself, and every daughter her mother." This profound statement highlights the deep, often unconscious bond between mother and child. It suggests that the wounds of the mother are passed down to the daughter, and vice versa. These wounds are not just physical or emotional scars. They are imprints on the very soul, shaping perceptions, behaviors, and relationships. The mother is the first mirror through which a child sees themselves. Her words, actions, and even her silences carve pathways in the child's psyche. If she was nurturing and affirming, the child learns to see themselves as worthy and loved. But if she was neglectful, critical, or absent, the child internalizes feelings of inadequacy, shame, and unworthiness. These early experiences create what Jung termed the mother complex. It is a powerful force that influences thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, often without conscious awareness. The mother complex can manifest in various ways, constantly seeking approval or validation from others, especially women, rejecting all feminine qualities or authority figures, often leading to strained relationships, placing women on a pedestal, expecting them to fulfill unmet needs, sacrificing personal needs and desires to care for others, leading to burnout and resentment. These patterns are not mere coincidences. They are echoes of unresolved wounds passed down through generations. As Jung observed, nothing exerts a stronger psychic effect upon the human environment, and especially upon children, than the life which the parents have not lived. The unhealed wounds of the mother become the unhealed wounds of the child. Healing begins when the truth is faced. This means acknowledging the pain, the neglect, the criticism, or the absence. It means seeing your mother not as a saint or a villain, but as a human being with her own flaws, fears, and limitations. It means understanding that her actions were not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of her own unhealed wounds. This process is not about blaming or condemning. It is about understanding and releasing. It is about breaking the cycle of pain and passing down a legacy of healing instead. Jung believed that the mother archetype is a powerful force in the unconscious mind. It is the source of life, nurturing, and protection. But when this archetype is distorted by unmet needs and unresolved trauma, it can become a source of pain and dysfunction. Healing involves integrating this archetype in a healthy way, reclaiming the nurturing, protective aspects, and releasing the toxic patterns. This journey is not easy. It requires courage to face the truth, strength to confront the pain, and compassion to heal the wounds. But it is the only path to true freedom. Healing is not about changing the past. It is about changing the present. It is about reclaiming your power, your worth, and your voice. It is about breaking free from the chains of the past and stepping into a future of your own making. Remember, you are not defined by the wounds of your mother. You are defined by your ability to heal, to grow, and to love. You have the strength within you to face the truth, to heal the wounds, and to create a new legacy. As Jung wisely noted, a mother complex is not got rid of by blindly reducing the mother to human proportions. It is not about diminishing her. It is about understanding her. It is about seeing her as she truly was, and in doing so, seeing yourself more clearly. So face the truth, embrace the pain, release the past, and step into the healing that awaits you. Healing is not a passive act. It is a courageous confrontation with the truth. As Carl Jung profoundly stated, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. This acceptance extends beyond personal flaws to include the painful truths about those who shaped us, especially our mothers. The journey toward healing begins by acknowledging the complexities of the maternal relationship. Jung's concept of the mother complex reveals that our perceptions of our mothers are often colored by unconscious projections and unresolved emotions. These projections can manifest as idealization or resentment, both of which distort our understanding and hinder personal growth. Facing the truth about our mothers involves recognizing both their nurturing and their limitations. It requires seeing them as individuals with their own struggles, rather than as perfect beings or villains. This process is essential for breaking free from the patterns that bind us and for reclaiming our own identity. Healing also involves confronting the dark mother archetype, the aspects of the maternal figure that are often repressed or denied. Bethany Webster emphasizes that acknowledging the full spectrum of the maternal experience, including its darker facets, is crucial for personal empowerment and authenticity. By integrating these aspects, we can achieve a more balanced and holistic sense of self. The path to healing is not linear. It is a dynamic process that requires ongoing self-reflection and growth. It involves challenging deeply ingrained beliefs and patterns, and embracing the discomfort that comes with transformation. Yet, it is through this very discomfort that true healing occurs. Remember, healing is not about changing the past, but about changing your relationship with it. It is about reclaiming your power, embracing your truth, and stepping into a future where you are no longer defined by the wounds of the past, but by your capacity to heal and grow. You will never heal until you face this about your mother. Not the comforting myth that kept you going. Not the filtered memory that made the pain easier to digest. But the raw, unembellished truth that your mother was not perfect, that her love might have been conditional, that her wounds became your inheritance. This is not a blame game. This is not about vilifying the woman who gave birth to you. This is about recognizing the imprint she left, knowingly or unknowingly, on your soul. As Carl Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parents." And what if your mother had dreams she never realized? What if she had rage she never expressed? What if she swallowed her pain so deeply that it calcified into silence, into control, into coldness? That burden becomes yours unless you bring it to the surface, unless you choose to no longer carry it. You were born into her story, yes, but you are not obligated to finish it. The truth that demands to be faced is this: until you confront how your mother shaped your inner world, you will unconsciously live in the emotional architecture she built for you. Her voice becomes the inner critic. Her absence becomes the blueprint for abandonment. Her approval becomes the gold you chase but never earn. Healing requires radical honesty. It requires going back not to dwell but to see clearly. Did she love conditionally? Was affection only available when you behaved a certain way, got certain grades, looked a certain way? Did she weaponize guilt? Make her pain your responsibility, her moods your burden? Did she never say, "I'm sorry"? Never admit when she was wrong? Did her pride matter more than your hurt? Did she pour all of her unmet needs into you? Expect you to be her friend, her confidant, her emotional rescuer? Did she simply not see you, the real you, because she was too consumed with herself? These questions are not accusations. They are revelations. They are the cracks in the story you were told, allowing the light of truth to shine through. The wound with the mother is often the deepest because it was the first. Before the world hurt you, she did, or didn't show up when it mattered. Before teachers, lovers, friends. It was her presence or absence, her tenderness or her withdrawal, that set the foundation. And what if she was doing her best? Yes, that can also be true. But her best may have still left you wounded. It's a cruel paradox that the person we are biologically wired to seek love from first may also be the person least able to give it. And so we adapt. We perform, we shrink, we seek elsewhere what was never freely given at home. The danger isn't just in what she did. The danger is in what you now believe about yourself because of it. That love must be earned, that emotions are dangerous, that your needs make you a burden, that you must disappear to be accepted. These beliefs run deep. They don't live in the logical mind, they live in the body, in the nervous system, in the way your stomach tightens before you speak your truth, in the way you apologize for existing, in the way you attract people who mirror your mother's emotional availability. This is the mother wound, and healing this wound is not a betrayal. It is the beginning of your liberation. Carl Jung spoke often of the need to integrate the shadow, the hidden, disowned parts of the self, and often, The unexpressed grief, rage, and longing tied to the mother relationship form a major part of that shadow. What have you denied because honoring it would mean facing the truth about her? What emotions have you swallowed to protect her image? What version of yourself have you silenced because it didn't fit the narrative that mom did her best? There is nothing noble about preserving a false story at the expense of your mental, emotional, and spiritual freedom. Facing the truth does not mean confrontation. It means reclamation, reclaiming the parts of yourself that were exiled in order to maintain peace, reclaiming your right to feel anger without shame, reclaiming your right to grieve the mother you never had, even if the world tells you she was a saint. This is not about dragging her memory through the mud. This is about releasing yourself from the emotional chains that have kept you stuck, small, and silent. Because until you see her clearly, you will not see yourself clearly. Until you understand the origins of your pain, you will continue to bleed on people who didn't cut you. Until you accept that her love may have been flawed, you will keep attracting people who echo that very flaw, mistaking it for home. You may have spent years trying to fix her through others, trying to earn love that looks like hers, trying to finally win what you were denied. But healing comes when you stop trying to win love and start giving it to yourself. The little child inside still waits, still wonders why she wasn't enough, still questions what she did wrong. That child needs to be met, held, validated, not dismissed, not bypassed with spiritual platitudes or stories about how hard mom had it. This is not about staying in the past. It's about giving yourself permission to feel the pain you weren't allowed to feel back then. Tears that were never cried, anger that was never safe, longing that was never answered. Let them all come. Let them rise. Let them shake the story loose. Because those emotions are not your enemy. They are your liberation. Carl Jung once warned that the parents, especially the mother, are always the most dangerous objects of transference. And what is transference but the unconscious repetition of patterns? Until you become aware, you will continue to place your mother's face on every authority figure, every friend, every lover, and replay the wound again and again. But awareness breaks the spell. Awareness allows you to say, "This is not about her anymore. This is about me now." The moment you can hold both truths, that your mother was wounded and that her wounds wounded you, is the moment you begin to heal. The moment you can mourn what was and wasn't is the moment you free yourself from trying to rewrite the story by reliving it. The moment you can sit with your pain without turning it inward is the moment you begin to become whole. You are not here to carry her burden. You are here to lay it down. You are not here to fix her story. You are here to write your own. You are not here to endlessly explain your pain. You are here to honor it. And you are not here to wait for her to see you. You are here to finally, fully see yourself. You are here to become what she couldn't, not out of defiance, but out of necessity. Because if the pain stops with you, the healing starts with you. The weight that lives in your chest, the tension that never quite leaves your shoulders, the longing that surfaces every Mother's Day or in quiet moments when no one is watching. Those are not signs of weakness. They are sacred invitations. Invitations to step into the most courageous act a human can undertake: emotional alchemy, transforming inherited pain into conscious healing. It begins when you no longer run from the truth of your experience, when you stop minimizing what happened, when you stop excusing the inexcusable, when you stop pretending that everything was fine. Everything was not fine, and the first breath of freedom comes when that sentence no longer terrifies you, when you can say it out loud, when you can own it, not in bitterness but in truth. Because what was not fine, what was painful, what was confusing, that all shaped the inner terrain you walk on today. And if you don't map that terrain, if you don't walk through its mountains and valleys with open eyes, you will get lost again. Again and again. The healing of the mother wound is the reclamation of your map. And on that map, there will be uncharted places. Moments that still don't make sense. A vague memory of a slammed door. A look she gave that turned you cold. A moment of joy you thought you had imagined because it was gone too quickly. You may not have all the details. You may never get answers. But you don't need all the pieces to begin rebuilding. You just need honesty, courage, and the willingness to feel what you weren't allowed to feel. Let that child who still lives inside you speak. Let them say the words they couldn't back then. It hurt when you didn't see me. I needed you and you weren't there. I felt like I had to earn your love. I thought it was my fault. Let those words echo. Let them ring loud enough to shake loose the dust that has settled over your truth. Because healing isn't just about understanding the past. It's about feeling the feelings that got frozen in time. And sometimes it's also about rage. The rage that says, I deserved better. The rage that says, that wasn't love. The rage that says, I'm done apologizing for surviving. This rage is not destruction. It is declaration. The declaration that you will no longer stay silent in a system that fed you guilt instead of grace. As Carl Jung emphasized, the process of individuation, the journey toward wholeness, requires us to confront and integrate the unconscious. And for so many, that unconscious is crowded with the voice of the mother. Not just her actual words, but the emotional echo of what was or wasn't said. The way her silence taught you to be quiet. The way her praise taught you to perform. The way her pain taught you to disappear. But you are not a ghost in her story. You are not an extra in her drama. You are the author of your own. And authors are not afraid of edits. They're not afraid to strike through old paragraphs. They're not afraid to write new endings. This journey requires you to give up the fantasy. The one that says, maybe one day she'll change. Maybe one day she'll see me. That fantasy is a thread that keeps you tied to a past that won't rewrite itself. Let that thread go. Healing means grieving the mother you never had. The one who would have listened. The one who would have held you. The one who would have loved you without condition. That grief will feel like a death. Because in a way it is. The death of illusion. The death of a story you told yourself to survive. But on the other side of that death is birth. The birth of a self that no longer waits for permission to exist. You are not obligated to maintain a relationship with someone who refuses to acknowledge the harm they caused. You are not required to keep bleeding so someone else doesn't feel uncomfortable. Boundaries are not punishment. They are clarity. Silence is not betrayal. Sometimes it's protection. And love, real love, never asks you to shrink. The greatest act of self-love is to become the parent you always needed. To give yourself the comfort, the validation, the safety that never arrived. To speak to yourself in the voice you once longed to hear. And you can. You can speak the words she never did. You matter. You are safe now. You are loved. Not for what you do, but for who you are. That voice, when repeated, becomes the new foundation. A home built on truth, not trauma. A voice that can interrupt the old patterns, the self-doubt, the people-pleasing, the self-abandonment. You may not have had a mother who saw you, but you can become someone who sees yourself with new eyes. Eyes of compassion, not criticism. And one day, maybe you'll hold someone else in your arms. A child, a friend, your own inner child, and realize that the healing you chose didn't just change you. It changed the future. This is generational work. This is soul work. This is the quiet revolution that starts in bedrooms, in therapy offices, in late-night journal entries soaked in tears. This is how the cycle breaks, not with grand gestures, but with one brave truth at a time. And the truth is, you will never heal until you face this about your mother. The truth that her love may have wounded you, that her pain may have shaped you, that her absence may have defined you. But none of those things get to decide who you become. Your healing is yours. Your wholeness is yours. And the rest of your life, that is yours too. And what does it mean to claim the rest of your life? It means stepping fully into the light of your own awareness. No longer waiting for someone else, especially your mother, to validate your experience before you take your healing seriously. It means giving yourself permission to rewrite the story, not from a place of revenge or resentment, but from a place of truth and liberation. You will never heal until you face this, that the maternal wound, if left unaddressed, becomes the compass by which you navigate every other relationship in your life. That wound does not politely sit in the background. It speaks through your choices. It echoes through your silence. It screams through your people-pleasing. It whispers in your fear of abandonment. It shows up in the way you trust or withhold trust, in the way you chase or shut down. And perhaps most heartbreakingly, it shows up in how you love yourself. That wound convinces you that being hard on yourself is necessary. That perfection is protection. That vulnerability is weakness. That shame is deserved. But these beliefs are not yours. They are inherited. Carl Jung taught that the psyche will project its unresolved wounds outward until those wounds are brought to conscious awareness. This means if you don't face the pain with your mother, you will unconsciously seek her in others. You will call it destiny, but it is repetition until you choose differently. Choosing differently means unlearning what love is not. Love is not manipulation disguised as care. Love is not conditional silence. Love is not guilt wrapped in obligation. Love is not something that you have to earn by abandoning yourself. It's not love if it costs your dignity. It's not love if you have to disappear to receive it. And yet, if the mother wound taught you that this was the price of closeness, of survival, then it makes sense why you've repeated those patterns, why you've stayed too long, why you've said yes when every cell in your body screamed no, why you've doubted your worth when someone withdrew their affection. This wound taught you that love was a transaction, not a birthright. But here's the miracle. You can rewrite the script. You can teach yourself a new language, one where love doesn't hurt, one where boundaries aren't betrayals, one where your needs are not threats, but sacred messages from your soul. You will never heal until you face this. You may never get the mother you needed, but you can become the source of what you always deserved. That's not a small thing. That is radical. That is revolutionary. To meet yourself with the care that was withheld. To protect yourself in the ways no one ever did. To hold your younger self, scared, unsure, craving approval and say, "I'm here now. You're safe with me." This is where the healing begins to change form. No longer a wound to run from, but a wound to sit with, to listen to understand. The inner child doesn't just want to be heard. They want to be believed. Believe her. Believe the child who remembers the loneliness, who remembers being dismissed, who remembers shrinking in order to feel safe. Believe her and you begin to reverse the damage. Because what that child most needed wasn't perfection from her mother. It was attunement, safety, presence. And now you can give that to yourself. This is the paradox. Healing the mother wound often looks like becoming the mother you never had. Nurturing when no one nurtured you. Soothing when no one soothed you. Loving yourself when no one showed you how. It's in how you talk to yourself on the hardest days. How you hold space for your emotions without shame. How you feed yourself, rest when needed, set boundaries not because you're angry, but because you're finally protecting something precious. You. As Jung described the process of individuation, the becoming of the whole self. It's through this confrontation and integration of the mother archetype that one begins to birth their true identity. Not the identity handed down by family roles, not the one formed in trauma, but the one that emerges when the unconscious patterns are made conscious. This part of the journey is not about confrontation with your mother in the physical world. Some mothers will never admit their faults. Some cannot hear the pain without turning it against you. Others are gone, unreachable, or passed away. But the conversation that matters most is not between you and her. It's between you and the internalized mother inside of you. The one whose voice was planted years ago and continues to narrate your inner world. That's the voice that must change. And it changes the day you no longer allow her fears to run your life. It changes the day you look into a mirror and no longer see her disappointment looking back. It changes when you decide that your story will not end the same way hers did. This isn't about creating a new identity in rebellion to hers. This is about creating a new identity in allegiance to your truth. Because healing isn't rebellion, it's return. A return to the child who knew she was worthy before anyone told her otherwise. A return to the body that felt joy before it learned to carry stress. A return to the soul that burned brightly before shame taught it to dim. When you stop fighting to change your mother, you start finding yourself. When you stop trying to fix her, you start freeing yourself. When you finally look at the whole of her, both her love and her wounds, her presence and her absences, and say, I see it all and I still choose to love and honor myself, that is when you reclaim your life. Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The mother wound lives in that darkness, not because it's evil, but because it's unspoken, buried, hidden. But what's hidden has power. What's spoken becomes free. Speak the truth, feel the pain, break the silence. And know this, you are not broken because of what happened with your mother. You are breaking open. Breaking open is not collapse. It is transformation. It is the fire that burns away illusion, guilt, shame, and fear, and leaves only what is real. What's real is this: you are whole even with your history. You are enough even with your wounds. You are becoming even if your mother never did, because her journey does not define yours. Her healing or lack of it does not determine what you are capable of. Her silence does not mean you have no voice. Her absence does not mean you are unlovable. And her inability to show up does not mean you are unworthy of someone who will. The truth is, many spend decades waiting for their mother to say the right thing, to apologize, to finally see them, to finally understand the pain that's been carried like an invisible weight. But what if that day never comes? What if she never becomes the person you needed her to be? Then what? Then you still rise. Then you still heal. Then you still become whole, not because she changed, but because you did. Carl Jung reminded us that we cannot change anything unless we accept it. And acceptance here is not about surrendering to pain. It's about looking it in the eye. About stopping the performance, the pretending, the exhausting act of protecting her image at the cost of your own healing. There's power in the pause that comes after facing it all. After saying, this is what happened. Not coded in justification. Not silenced with shame. Just truth, raw and unfiltered. Yes, she may have done her best, but her best may still have hurt you. Yes, she may have loved you, but her love may have had sharp edges. Yes, she may have meant well, but the impact was still real. These truths can coexist. Holding them together is the emotional maturity that no one taught, but that you are capable of now, that you are building now. Healing this wound does not mean you stop loving her. It means you stop loving her more than you love yourself. It means you stop trying to be the version of you that would finally make her happy, finally earn her praise, finally fill whatever emptiness she never named but always carried. That's not your job. That was never your job. Your job is to come back to yourself, to choose truth over tradition, to choose inner peace over approval, to choose freedom over family loyalty that comes with strings attached, to choose self-love over inherited guilt. This is what it means to become sovereign, emotionally, spiritually, energetically sovereign. No longer fused to her story, no longer chained to her needs, no longer defined by her limitations. And yes, this path may cost something. It may cost relationships. It may cost illusions. It may cost the fragile peace you maintained by not speaking your truth. But what you gain your voice. You gain your self-respect. You gain the ability to love without losing yourself. Most importantly, you gain the ability to raise your own inner child, the one who still lives inside, waiting to be seen, held, and believed. You become the parent that child deserved. And in doing so, something extraordinary happens. The legacy shifts. The patterns stop. The generational trauma that once moved silently through bloodlines meets its end with you. Not with resentment, not with vengeance, but with truth, with love, with fierce, honest compassion. Because what is more loving than finally telling the truth about pain? What is more sacred than refusing to let wounds dictate the rest of your life? And yes, the world may not understand. Society has long romanticized motherhood. It clings to the myth that all mothers are good, that all mothers mean well, that speaking out is disloyal, ungrateful, cruel. But silence is not loyalty. Silence is erasure. and your story deserves to be heard, even if only by you. Carl Jung's wisdom invites us to move inward, to face what lives in the shadows of our psyche. He understood that only through integration, not denial, do we begin to live as whole beings. And for so many, the unresolved pain with the mother is the final gate, the last lock, the heaviest key. But once it's turned, the doors that open are immense. Suddenly, you understand your patterns. You stop blaming yourself for everything that went wrong. You begin to create relationships that nourish, not deplete. You stop apologizing for needing space, rest, love, clarity. You stop asking others to fill what only you can give to yourself. And you learn to mother yourself, not just in moments of crisis, but every day, with every boundary, with every gentle word, with every decision that says, I matter, because that's the truth the mother wound tried to obscure, that you matter, not for what you do, not for who you please, not for how much pain you can endure, but simply because you are. So, continue to ask the hard questions. Continue to mourn what you never had. Continue to grieve the absence wrapped in presence, the love that came with barbed wire, the I love you's followed by sharp silences. Continue to honor the child who survived, the teen who adapted, the adult who is still learning that safety is not performance. Continue to create the life your younger self dreamed of, not the one shaped by generational fear, but the one defined by love, clarity, freedom. Because you deserve it, all of it, even if your mother never told you so, even if she never gives you closure, even if she still doesn't understand. You are allowed to understand. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to live a beautiful life, not because your mother gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. So here it is, the truth that sets the stage for your freedom. You will never heal until you face this about your mother. Not because healing demands blame, not because your story must be steeped in resentment, but because facing the truth is the only way you stop reliving it. Carl Jung taught that what we do not make conscious, we are doomed to repeat. And this wound, the mother wound, it has echoed long enough. In your relationships, in your self-worth, in the choices that felt like fate but were really patterns in disguise. Facing this truth doesn't require her to change. It doesn't require her to understand. It requires only your willingness to feel what was buried, to grieve what was lost, and to reclaim what was always yours, your voice, your value, your vision. Healing begins where denial ends. It begins the moment you stop saying, it wasn't that bad, and start saying, I deserve to heal anyway. It begins when you no longer need her to see you because you finally see yourself. It begins when you stop trying to rewrite the past and begin writing your own future. The mother wound may be your inheritance, but healing, that is your legacy. And every time you speak your truth, every time you love yourself fiercely, every time you create space for joy, peace, and wholeness, you are breaking a cycle that has run for generations. That is not weakness. That is power. You were never meant to carry the pain forever. You were meant to rise from it. So rise, speak, feel, heal, and remember, facing the truth about your mother is not the end of love. It is the beginning of self-love, the most powerful kind there is.